Last time we got together, we were working on using some fairly basic formulas in Excel. This time we're still going to be using fairly basic formulas, they're just done a little bit differently. Not always are you going to be able to use a function where you just click on a button and let it throw it in there for you. Sometimes you're going to have to do a little bit of thought. In this case, what we're looking at is a company, it's a police department actually, and they have several vehicles that they use. What they want to look at is how much does it cost average per mile to drive those vehicles. Right now they have a cost per mile right here in this column, which is probably mainly fuel. There might be a few other things factored into that, like insurance, but you also have a maintenance cost. So how much does it cost to keep that car up and running per month? And we need to figure out what the total cost per mile is. So we start off by figuring out what our mileage cost is. We know how many miles we've driven and we know how much it costs per mile, so some simple multiplication will figure this out for us. So we'll go ahead and type in equals. We'll take the miles driven for the first vehicle and we will multiply that times the cost per mile. And I'll simply hit enter, and now I can see what my mileage cost is. Next, we need a total cost, and this is a matter of adding that mileage cost that we just figured out. So I'll go ahead and take that, plus, not multiply, but plus the maintenance cost. That's a fixed cost for that automobile. And then we hit enter. So for this most recent month, it was $1,226 to drive this automobile around on the road. Now, though, since we have all of our automobiles, we want to figure out how much it costs per mile to drive. And that way we'll have a better idea of which automobile is more expensive than the other automobiles. This formula is a pretty simple formula. We're kind of doing the reverse of what we were doing a few moments ago when we found the mileage cost. We are going to go in and take our total cost and we're going to divide that by the miles driven. And now we get this big long number that basically tells us it's 61 cents per mile to drive that automobile. Now, we've got our formulas. One of the things you can always do is go back and check your formulas to make sure that you have the correct cells in there. If I go in and I double click on one of my cells, you'll notice how, or one of my formulas, excuse me, you'll notice how the cells are highlighted so that you can now look through and you can see which cells are being included in the formula, which comes in real handy, and that way you can see if you accidentally messed up something. Alright, this is called the range finder, and it helps you out. Everything's color coordinated, and you can look at it quickly and see whether or not you have the correct cell locations in your formula. Let's go and copy these down. We're going to select all three of them, grab our fill handle, and drag it down all at the same time. Now, we could do totals down here, but we've already done that, so I'm going to skip that for right now. And we're going to go down to B14, where we want to find out what the highest number of miles driven was for this most recent month. And we'll do that. We're going to use our auto sum button, but this time we'll go down and we'll use max. That's the maximum amount. Now you do have to be careful right here because the range that is being selected includes the total line. And if we put a total formula in there, this will cause an issue. We need to go back and reselect just the miles driven. We don't want the total down at their bottom. And then hit enter. We're going to do the same thing, finding the smallest amount. So we'll use min. We'll select our range and we'll hit enter. And then we'll also do the same thing for the average. Same process. And enter. We could at this point select all of it, copy it on out here to the right, and then we would have all of our numbers. At this point, all we're left doing is just simply formatting them.